Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, the oddest ticket I've ever worked. The wonders of wireless input devices. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. The oddest ticket I've ever worked. Sometimes, people pry apart my spreadsheets and tools and code for various reasons. And when they do, they find a hidden bit of code. I put it everywhere, as a sort of signature. People wonder what it is, and they ask me. And I get to tell them this story. I was a Tier I remote support tech. This was one of my first officially IT jobs, and I was a young, fresh-faced, wide-eyed kid with a working knowledge of some kind of code and the ability to install Java with over a 50% success rate. Ring ring went the phone. I perked up. Another customer desperately in need, on the brink of disaster, had called upon me to single-handedly resolve their problem and leave them 110% satisfied. A problem I alone had the keys to fix, so long as it was within the exceptionally narrow purview of the types of problems I was trained to handle. Thanks for calling Tech Support Megacorp. My name is Clickety, can I have your name and client number please? There was a long pause and then the person slowly gave me their info. I plugged it into my system and bam. I looked at the client's info, they were based out in Washington State. A very remote office, easily 3 or 4 hours drive from their nearest desk-side support analyst. If I couldn't fix their issue, they might not be up and running for days. I was their last hope. So our computer's been running really slow, guy starts out, and I jump on it. I see. Let me see if you have any hanging processes going on. Do you know what version of Java you're running? Have you recently uninstalled or reinstalled any programs? No to all of these. Our remote session was lagging for sure. But I couldn't find out what was the cause. See, it started after this storm. The guy went on to a ramble about the weather, and how they've been dealing with landslides and other unrelated things. Meanwhile, I kept scrounging for data in the system. The processor was just running so slow. And it's been hot and the computer smells pretty funny. I slopped. Smells funny? Have you cleaned it recently to get dust out of it? I felt like a genius. Once he vacuumed that up, he'd be all good to go. There was a long pause while the guy presumably took the case off the PC. Then oh God. Aaz. Slam. Slam. Over there. Strings of profanity. Then quiet. Sir? I asked after a moment. Are you still there? Is everything okay? No, he shouts. There's a hole in the wall, and it looks like they got in after the storm. They've built a hive. What? He repeated himself. So, yeah, can you get someone out here with a new PC or something? I know it's hard to get someone out here and all. Undeterred, I assured them I'd have someone out as soon as I could. I typed up the ticket and sent it on its way, and I never heard how it got resolved. But I will never forget that ticket as I sent it on its way. Computer completely filled with bees. Sending to desk-side support. I learned something important that day. Never take a problem at face value or assume you have all the pertinent info, no matter how usual it may seem. Listen when the customer gives you background info, some of it might be important. And never, ever, choose to work in desk-side repair in the mountains. And that is why, in every code or spreadsheet I've ever written, somewhere you will find the phrase computer completely filled with bees. To remind myself that no matter how much I feel like a genius, there's always room for being completely wrong and completely surprised. The wonders of wireless input devices. While this sub originally brought me to Reddit, I so far never considered to post any of my stories. Well, I guess it is time to change this. When this happened, I was a student tech support in one of the university buildings, responsible for keeping everything running, may it be to ensuring updates were done or by solving issues. One of the secretaries called in and explained that her mouse and keyboard were acting up. I promised I would be right over, and on my way there, was already less than happy. This woman was not exactly the epitome of friendly behavior. I got in, smiling, and asked her to show me the problem. Sure enough, her keyboard and mouse acted erratically, only accepting some of the inputs. Well, lucky for me, she also kept a few spare parts to hand them out to students or workers. I picked a wired mouse from her stash and went to work on the issue. The mouse and keyboard were both Unify technologies. Those require a special driver and the corresponding software. As this was Windows and from time to time drivers got hiccups, I reinstalled those. Nope. Okay. Maybe the software had a problem? Another reinstall and... No. As I tried these solutions, the secretary stood beside me, already visibly annoyed that I dared to take a few minutes to solve her issue. Furthermore, she was complaining that it couldn't be this or that because the setup worked yesterday. My explanation that, from time to time, errors creep into a computer setup fell on deaf ears. As my previous attempts had gone fruitless, I dived under her desk to see if the USB connector was either damaged or not seated properly. To my surprise, there were two of them, above each other. I turned around to inquire if she always had had the mouse and keyboard. She told me she had had a wired keyboard until recently, but because the wireless mouse worked so well, she had asked for permission, and then ordered a wireless keyboard for her workstation. I got up and explained that her mouse and keyboard were from the same company, which offered a special technology to reduce the number of occupied USB slots. The mouse and keyboard could and should be operated with just one connector, as the software I had just reinstalled was able to recognize both of them and their inputs. I went on to say that, most likely, her issues were created by the fact that both connectors were trying to pick up both signals, which could only result in communication chaos. I would remove one of the connectors and put it away as a backup. Looking straight into my eyes, she told me, "No, that is not possible. You can't do that." I blinked, visibly irritated. "Excuse me? It's not possible. It worked like this since I had the keyboard. If you remove a connector, it won't work anymore. It must be something else. Look for something else." I smiled a little, forced smile. "I'm certain this is causing the problem. It will work with just one connector. That is actually a sales argument for this technology. I'll just remove one connector, you can store it as a spare." "No, that's not possible. Look for something else." I sighed and took a step back. "You called me as the tech support because you did not know how to solve the problem. These systems are created so only one USB connector is needed. I'm certain this is causing the issue, thus this is my next step to try and resolve it. Either you let me try this, and if the issue persists, I will look for another solution, or I'm happy to let you solve your issue, as I cannot provide you with any further assistance." She was not happy. But she grumbled something about letting me try, but she'd dare me to find a solution once that failed. Then she walked into the adjacent coffee kitchen. I dove under the desk again, pulled one of the connectors, ran the connecting/calibration once more and tested the keyboard and mouse. Both worked as expected. She was still making coffee. I used the time to put the wired mouse back to where it belonged, set the wireless connector into the packaging of the keyboard, and then showed her everything worked. I said my goodbyes and went back to my office. A minute after arriving back at my desk, I get a steaming, nearly screaming call from her that I couldn't just steal her wired equipment. With an annoyed, but calm tone, I informed her that I had put the mouse back to where I had taken it from. She muttered "oh," and hung up. And I was, once more, happy my boss knew how complicated the employees could be, so he had told us to be stern. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.